Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your host, Jay, and you're watching From Inside Out. Thank you guys so much for joining and watching another episode right here in our studios from Inside Out. I'm your host, Jay. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I do much appreciate it. As promised and as advertised, we're going to be talking about a topic that is going to be quite, I guess you could say, interesting, controversial, whatever you want to add to it. But it's a topic that needs to get discussed nonetheless. So real quick before I get into the details of this show, for all the new ones that are just tuning in and have never heard of me before or whatnot, and you're new here, thank you so much for checking me out. I do appreciate it. If you would like to, please sub now, and that way, if you do, make sure you turn on the all notification bell. That way you'll get notified for upcoming shows that I'll do right here on my podcast. Got a lot of things coming down the pike, if you guys will, and I don't want you guys to miss anything that's going on with me in this podcast. So major stuff coming down, major things happening, and major change, if you will, are happening right here on this podcast, which I'll show you guys a little bit later in this broadcast. So we're going to be talking about a topic that is pretty touchy and just all over the place, if you will, when it comes to this topic. And we're going to be talking about the death penalty, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's something that I truly believe that needs to be discussed. And me personally, if you're wondering, me personally, it needs to be abolished all clear across this country. All right? But we're going to get into the details right here, right now. And I'm going to show you guys, as always, the facts, the data to back up what I'm saying. And some of you guys are going to be like, whoa, or like, quite surprised on some of this information. So, if this is an interesting podcast for you guys, put your comments and your concerns and whatnot that you have for this podcast here tonight in the chat. Let me know what you got going on in your mind. Let me know how I feel about this podcast and if you like it. All right. So for tonight, guys, I have some data up on my screen that I believe that you all should be notified on. Some of this is going to probably piss you off. Some of this is going to be like the wow factor. Nonetheless, whatever it does to you guys tonight, let me know how you feel about this podcast related to this topic, the death penalty. Let's go ahead and get into it right now. As you guys can see on your screen, here are the stats. All this information is right here in front of your face. This was updated, as you guys can see right there, May 2022. So not too long ago. Pretty new nonetheless. So I'm gonna show you guys this and all of the information in it regarding this topic, the death penalty. And again, I think a lot of you are gonna get surprised on some of this information. So I'm gonna go ahead and enlarge it, put it on the full screen, and we'll go from there. All right, and let me go ahead and add it up here real quick. Or not add it up, excuse me. Let's get it to where you guys can see it. There we go. And excuse me, guys, I gotta take this phone call. All right, guys, thank you very much for having the patience for waiting for me on that. Unfortunately, the phone rang, and believe it or not, I'm gonna have some help with this topic here tonight, dealing with the death penalty. So I do apologize for that little situation. Anyways, as you guys can see on your screen, we have the updated updated information. May 2022 is when this was updated, so it's fairly new. And this is called the death penalty status. What states are doing it, which ones aren't. And as you guys can see on your screen, it's right down the middle. All right, but on the phone, to help me with this topic, is our colleague and great sister and best friend, Jay Lee. Welcome to the show, Jay Lee. How you doing?
Thank you for having me, Jay. I really appreciate it. I'm doing well. It's great to be here, and it's definitely a topic that we need to discuss for sure due to all the historical problems with the death penalty.
Yeah, I felt it was quite necessary to talk about this, being that number one, it don't get brought up as much as you all think, and number two, it is a like you say, very controversial subject nonetheless. So I think it needs to be brought up, and it's going to be quite touchy, and I think there's going to be a lot of different mixed bag of emotions on this topic. So again, thank you for joining. I do appreciate you, Jay Lee.
Thank you for having me, Jay.
All right. So as you guys can see on your screen, this is the data that is backed up with 2022's data. The green sections are the ones that are not doing the death penalty, just so you guys know. The red is the ones or the states that are doing it. And then there's 3 states that are in between, I guess, the two. So there's only 3 states that can't decide. I guess that's what that means anyways. So let me go ahead and break this down in more detail and more information. And I think a lot of you guys are going to be quite surprised. Here's some information that I believe is very telling. Let me go ahead and read this off to you guys. The death penalty or capital punishment, and this is what this is called in some other places, capital punishment. What is capital punishment? Well, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, what that means is probably one of the biggest and heinous crimes that are out there, and it's going to break it down that makes this a capital punishment. All right, so here it is. The death penalty, or capital punishment as it's called in some places, is a government-sanctioned punishment for committing a crime. A person convicted and given the death penalty will be put to death as punishment for that crime. More information, here it is. Only crimes deemed as capital offenses are eligible to receive the death penalty. Crimes that fall into this category include murder, espionage, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and I'm going to stop right there and say and highlight the word humanity. All right? It's funny how they put that word in there, but our locked up loved ones are dealing with humanity issues on a daily. Imagine that. More on that later. Genocide and treason. All right? Nobody has been executed for a crime other than homicide since the Supreme Court reinstated the death penalty in 1976. However, 27 states allow for a person to be convicted of murder if they are involved in a crime involving loss of life, even if they were not directly responsible for the death. Jay Lee, your take on that information here tonight.
Yeah, that's very informative, Jay. I'm glad you found that and shared it with the fans of the show. It kind of gives you a breakdown and really good analysis of which states are doing it and which are not. And we appreciate that information because, without having that kind of picture in front of us, we can't really see state by state what is going on through the statistical analysis. But based on what you have there on the screen and what you've said in this podcast so far, I would have to say, being in locked up as long as I have, I know of stories where someone was actually executed for whatever they were alleged to have done wrong or whatever they were convicted of doing wrong. And regardless of your personal feeling on this, come to find out some of the ones who were executed by the state turn out to be innocent later on down the road. And so my problem with this is that why is it that after someone's death we find out the person's innocent or is not as guilty as was earlier perceived? That's a problem. When we have this happening over and over again in multiple different states, that makes me no longer trust that portion of our criminal justice system, because it now has turned into an injustice system. Because how can you tell the difference between someone who actually so-called deserves it and those that were then executed and come to find out they didn't deserve it at all? So if there's no proper guidelines, or if the guidelines are not being followed, or someone was unfortunately executed and we find out they're innocent, how do you reverse that? Once someone dies, you can't go back in time. So because of these problems associated with this injustice system, I think we need to completely erase the death penalty in all states and then reevaluate that system, because ultimately there's not enough safeguards just based on all the problems we've had so far. Back to you, Jake.
No, man, and sis, you are absolutely 110%. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I bet you anything, some naysayers and negative Nellies and whatnot are going to get into the chat later tonight when this is uploaded and put their 2 cents in here and say we need the death penalty because there's some heinous crimes out there and so forth and yada yada. But I'm glad you brought that up, because that's going to bring my point right here, right now. Now, keep in mind, I've said numerous times, including you, Jay Lee, probably have said a few times, either on this podcast or behind the scenes, where there are a lot more innocent people than you and I realize. I mean, that is out there. The information, the stuff that is out there to back it up is what I'm trying to say. Okay, there are innocent people. Okay, so if there was no innocent people, then we wouldn't have programs such as the Innocent program, or innocent program. You know about that, right, Jay Lee?
Yeah, most states now have what's called an Innocence Project.
Yeah.
Which was created because of, for example, someone gets executed and then we come to find out that DNA proves it wasn't them.
Yeah.
Oh, oops, sorry. But no, we don't do oops, sorry. How can you go back and revive somebody that the state has now killed when it comes to find out the person wasn't guilty in the first place? Yeah,
oops, my butt. So I don't blame you. And so if there's no innocence and everybody's guilty, just right off the bat, if everybody is so damn guilty, then we wouldn't have that program and it wouldn't exist, is my point.
Yeah, that's a great point, because, those projects were created because of stories like that.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, when the project like that gets involved in someone's case, come to find out they got involved because they saw a problem with the case, and due to independent investigation, come to find out, maybe the person is not as guilty as everyone thought. Yeah.
And that's where it needs to change. That's where that kind of crap right there, the mistakes that our system makes, that is the stuff I'm talking about. That is what needs to be changed and fixed, because we are killing innocent people, believe it or not. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, on this, and I'm going to go ahead and read some more here. There's a lot of here, so just bear with me. I hope you guys take notes. If you guys miss something, replay this. Okay, a person convicted of a crime and sentenced to death is sent to death row. If you don't know what death row is, it's a place where they sit and wait for their turn to be killed, basically. All right? Where inmates awaiting execution are housed. In most cases, convicts remain on death row for several years during appeals, according to the 2020 Bureau of Justice. Statistics report that the average time between conviction and execution is 18.9 years. Now, wait a minute. Why? If they're guilty, hold on a minute before you guys all go buck wild in the comment section. If they're guilty, why wait? Jay Lee?
Well, it's simply put, there's a long period of time where that person who is judged as guilty still have a due process right to appeal their conviction and go through the appeal process. And because the appeal process is so backlogged and so slow, in order to finish an appeal, it takes years. And then once the appeal is finally over, then it could take another year or two before that person's date comes up for their execution.
No, absolutely, sis. I don't disagree with what you're saying. Don't think this is a negative thing coming down on whatever it may be. But I want you to understand, some of this to me doesn't make any sense, which I get. Everybody has a right to due process. Everybody has a right to appeals. But wait a minute. The court, okay, found him guilty. If it's guilty, then there should be no appeals. You get what I'm saying here? I'm kind of being a smart ass. I get it, but I'm trying to do this for the people out there that don't understand this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, so technically, if someone's ruled as guilty, then pretty much that's locked in stone until a higher court reverses it, and everyone has a fair chance to try.
I agree.
Try to attempt to reverse a decision in the trial court, whether it was a plea or a jury trial. Everybody still has that right to appeal.
Right.
And yeah, you're right. Convictions will stand until they're overturned. But yeah, it just takes such a long time to get the actual final result after the appeals are all done. So
in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Jay Lee. In a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, half this stuff that you just read here don't make any sense. And guess who's stuck paying the bill? Why they sit there and wait for 18.9 years to figure out whether they're going to live or die. Imagine that. Moving on real quick, ladies and gentlemen, a Supreme Court ruling in 1972, and Jay Lee, you might be aware of this. Again, a Supreme Court ruling in 1972 banned the death penalty in the United States, ruling that the punishment as applied was unconstitutional. I love that word. I am a constitutionist by itself, besides this prison stuff I do, and I love the Constitution. I love what it means. I love what it stands for. So, Jay Lee, did you hear about this? A Supreme Court ruling in 1972 banned the death penalty in the United States. Your take?
Yeah, I did hear about it. I was not able to get a copy and read all the details, but I know this has been a controversy for quite some time. You have arguments on both sides of the fence on this topic. But yeah, the High Court did rule and make that ruling.
Yeah.
There's been some state actions that are contrary to that. Some states still have death penalty, some don't. Like in Washington State, Governor Inslee has put a moratorium on the death penalty, and then eventually the law changed to actually ban it altogether in Washington. So some states do have it still existing, and some do not.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would have to get that court decision and then see if that decision has been followed in all the different states.
Right, and here's some more real quick. The Supreme Court reinstated. So it was banned, then it was reinstated in 1976.
So reinstated in 1976, is that what you said, Jay?
Yeah, I'll apologize. I'll read the whole thing again. A Supreme Court ruling in 1972 banned the death penalty in the United States, ruling that the punishment was unconstitutional. Then the Supreme Court reinstated the death penalty in 1976.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would have to read both those decisions and find out why. I'm sure, as you probably are aware, there's a lot of politics going on behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely.
Because one administration wanted, and then the other one coming in after that would want to change it. Mm-hmm. It's all really the personal point of view and the personal agenda of the leaders of the country during that time frame.
Oh, absolutely. Here's some more data, sis. Pay attention. Today, the United States is divided. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, divided. We're divided and been divided for a while now. When it comes to capital punishment, 24 states allow, again, highlighting this. 24 states allow the death penalty. 23 states have abolished the capital punishment altogether. 3 states, California, Oregon, and Pennsylvania, have governor issued what you just said, that word, in place. The M word. Halting executions in the state. You can see there real quick, Jay, that there's a movement in one direction in certain states, and then there's stalling or no movement in other states. And when you really look at the demographics of those particular states, you'll know that really it boils down to politics. Oh, absolutely. They want your vote. Nonetheless, no more, no less. Moving on real quick, guys, and I do apologize for the length of this, but I got to get this out. Of those states that have abolished the death penalty, Michigan became the first state to abolish it in 1846. Virginia officially abolished the death penalty as of July 1st, 2021, making it the most recent state to get rid of it or abolish it. So good job, Virginia. Kudos to you. Moving on real quick, on average, 26.3 people have been executed annually since 2000. Overall, executions are on the decline. In 2000, 85 inmates were executed across the country in 2020. That number was 17. And I want you guys to understand this. Out here in the Deep South, states such as Texas is the #1 state right now for doing this. But I want to tell you guys why real quick. Out here in the southern states, they believe in this kind of punishment because they believe in old school punishment. They're still believing that there's a civil war going on. The old school individuals out here believe in that type of punishment. That's just where they're at with it, ladies and gentlemen. And here's proof. Bear with me, Jaylee. Texas leads the nation in executions. I'll highlight that. Again, Texas. Oops, my bad. It won't let me highlight it. Again, Texas, go figure, leads the nation in executions, having put 574 inmates to death. And again, how many of those are actually innocent? If you know the answer to that, put it in the chat. I don't think no one does. You'll never know. It's too late to find out now. Since 1976, on average, Texas executes 12 inmates annually, over 4 times more than the second most state. Several factors lead to the higher use of the death penalty in Texas. The state lacks a public defender system for indigent convicts and relies on elected appellate judges. Both factors that lead to higher levels of capital convictions. So if you're broke as a joke and don't have no money, you're screwed. Imagine that. Furthermore, Texas inmates spend 40% less time on death row. Again, Texas inmates spend 40% less time on death row. An average of 11 years prior execution as of June 2022, there are 194 inmates on death row in Texas. Real quick, Oklahoma has executed 116 individuals since 1976. An average of 2.5 executions yearly. As of June 2022, there are 43 inmates on death row in Oklahoma. Holy cow. Your take, Jaylee.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the numbers are decreasing as far as how many people are getting placed in there for whatever their crimes are. What seems to be interesting to me is that Texas has always been
You have 1 minute left.
has always been the holdout. It's been the state that wants to do its own thing and doesn't care whether you're innocent or not.
Right. And more than welcome to call back on the show, Jaylee, because I know your time is limited. So go ahead and chime back in, and I'll see you in a little bit.
Okay, I'll call right back.
The caller has hung up.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how else to break this down to you guys, but there you guys can see it. All right, there it is. Factual based information right there in front of your face. Now, if you've been asking questions like, what can we do about this? What can we do to change this situation? Well, if you guys stick around and continue to follow me, I will show you what we can do. All right? Because obviously, ladies and gentlemen, we definitely need major overhaul or reform, if you will, in our system. Can't stress that enough. So I hope this podcast is very insightful for a lot of you, because again, the data right there doesn't lie. The data doesn't lie. And again, I showed you guys. Okay? There it is. And bear with me again. She's ringing in, so bear with me, guys. Welcome back to the show, Jaylee. I appreciate you taking the time to chime back in here. I was just basically telling everybody that is hopefully watching, or will be watching, I should say, that we are in a very, very negative situation when it comes to our system as a whole. And there's more proof right there on your screen. Like I told them, how much reform we need, how much change we really need in our system. Your take on that, Jay Lee, real quick?
Yeah, like I was saying in earlier shows, Jay, as always, it starts with the lawmakers. Because as you know, your legislative representatives and your senators are the ones who pass these laws that everybody else has to follow. So basically, you have to follow the Yellow Brick Road and find out where it leads. And typically, it all leads right back to your lawmakers in every single state. And because of that, that's where you start in order to try and change the system.
Right. No, absolutely, and you're correct. And again, we need more than just, a few people to help make that happen. This is look, guys, I can't stress this enough with all due respect. If you guys want to really get rid of these things and you guys don't like how this works or like how any of this is as a whole, then we need to really buckle down, and go to your capital, go wherever you need to, and let them know how you feel about this stuff. One person can't do this by ourselves. And that's where I'm at with it, folks. I mean, it's the death penalty is inhumane, unconstitutional treatment. Okay? Why get rid of one and not the other? What am I talking about? Well, take, for example, the whole segregation. I did a video on this, me and my colleague Jay Lee, and it turned out to be a very popular video. That's the same thing. It's just more mental than it is death. And technically, if you stay in there long enough, people actually have died under that. They had a mental crash. So we need to really think about what is punishment, what is decent punishment, I guess you can say, what is not inhumane punishment, and go with that. I mean, I don't understand why we have to have the death penalty. Because if you're going to do life in prison, you're going to die in there anyways. It doesn't matter. Jay Lee, your take on any of this?
Yeah, I was going to say earlier, too, punishing someone to life in prison, well, they have to remember the things they did and the harm they did over and over again while they're doing day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year for the rest of their lives. It's probably a worse form of punishment than just taking an easy way out and just executing them and taking their lives.
Right.
Life sentence, to me, is a worse punishment than just taking their life.
Right. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you again just tuned in, I'm giving out the data, and I'm showing you guys charts. I'm showing you the data, not just reading this stuff off. And I'm going to go to that chart here real quick before I go any further with this, guys. I want you guys to pay attention to this chart. I'm going to find it real quick, so bear with me. Right here. Look at this. And you can't make this up. Look at this, folks. Texas, #1 state right now, since 1976 anyways, as you guys can see on your screen. 574 people have passed away under this law. And look at the next state down below. Oklahoma is next, 116, and they're climbing. Virginia, 113 people have died. Florida, where I live, imagine that, 99. Missouri, 92. Georgia, 76. But keep in mind, these are southern states. What I said earlier. Okay? Alabama, 69. Ohio, 56. And North Carolina and South Carolina, both 43. And then it just gets less from there. What more proof do you guys need? If you want to live in Texas, go be my guest. But don't break the law over there, or you're dead. But anyways, guys, there's your data. And now, again, here's some more information. I'm going to make this quick. Texas is in the red. They're active. They believe in the death penalty. Virginia, they don't do it. Okay? Delaware, they don't do it. California is between the fence. They haven't decided if they want to do it or not, get rid of it or keep it. Maryland, they don't do it. Washington, where my sister lives currently right now, they don't do it. Colorado, they don't do it either. Neither does Connecticut, New Mexico, Alaska, District of Columbia, they don't do it either. Illinois, Hawaii, Iowa, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, North Dakota, Rhode Island, Vermont, West Virginia, Wisconsin, they don't do it. Because they're not southern states. Your take on that, Jay Lee?
Yeah, seems to be a pattern here. Texas has that attitude of, oh, well, we're just not going to change. Even though it looks like the country is moving towards that change. Texas is going to be a holdout. They're not going to want to follow suit. And then, due to those politics, then as you see down to the southern states, you see a difference as well. So, again, it all boils down to whoever your leaders are in those particular states and their ideology. As you know, you're all raised to believe a certain thing by your parents. And when you become an adult, you're going to advocate for the thing that you were taught. And then as an adult, whatever your political view is going to drive the decisions you make. And you can see now the adult leaders in every state, they have this ideology of either for it or against it. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out.
Imagine that. There's another segment for your Friday Imagine That topic.
Yeah, that definitely could be a topic for sure. We're working on a couple ideas for our Imagine That this coming Friday, so thanks for reminding me. But our listeners will always get more detailed information on a topic during the week we didn't have time for it to cover. And for me, introduce new topics as well. So definitely a new segment to the show. So tune in on Fridays so you can hear a new segment of Imagine That.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really enjoying and getting a kick out of that Imagine That. It's a nice little segment. I got a lot of love and respect for it. And speaking of which, coming up this Friday, which I'm hoping you can be a part of, Jay Lee, so you are invited. As always, right here on this show, we're going to have a very special celebration. And I'm going to prove that here in just a minute on the screen. We're going to have a very special show coming up this Friday live with me, your host, Jay, from Inside Out. The 1,000 subscribers celebration. And Jay Lee, do you want to be a part of that show?
Well, I wouldn't miss it for anything, Jay. Come a long way, so definitely we'll be celebrating with you this Friday, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so now we'll give you a chance to do a live, I think you did it once before, but again, a second prelude, if you will, to your Imagine That segment coming up this Friday live. So hopefully you won't have any issues with the phone or whatnot, and hopefully you can be a part of that great celebration and milestone that this channel has achieved. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and show you that right now on the screen and show you what I'm talking about. As you guys can see, there it is. Ta-da! In the flesh, right there on the screen. We are at 140 plus subscribers. Amazing. And I love and respect every single one of you that did, subscribe to my channel and put me there on the mark. But I got some more good news. Showing you on the screen with proof. Right over here. Look at this, guys. Look at this. And I hope you guys can see it. If not, let me go ahead and enlarge it real quick, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, there it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have 2,174 public watch hours. I need 3,000. Look where it's sitting. I only need that much more to get this channel monetized. And thanks to all of you for watching, viewing, sharing my content, you are making that happen. So look at this. I mean, there's proof right there in the pudding, ladies and gentlemen, that I am about to be monetized on this channel. And I can't thank you guys enough for all the love and support and respect that you're showing this channel. What's your take on this major milestone, Jay Lee?
Well, it just goes to show you that our fans are very intrigued and excited about what we do here, and they're supporting us, and we can't be more appreciative of all that they have done and getting the word out. And it's been instrumental in order to make us where we are now. I'm just going to say huge thanks to all our fans for helping to support us through this journey over these past 5 years. It's definitely been monumental and helping us make these dreams come true to do our best to change the system from inside out.
No, absolutely. And again, you hit that on the nail. And before we get out of here, I think this is going to sum it up. I think you guys get the idea where we're standing at when it comes to the death penalty and all that. I got to ask you, Jay Lee, I'm not sure for the remaining of the show or the closeout of the show. Do you have a closing argument? Because I do.
Well, yeah, maybe something real brief, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate it. If you do have a closing argument, this show, I would greatly appreciate it. But I'm going to get mine out first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
And hold on a second. I'm trying to find my where it went. Okay, I found it. All right, so technical issues, guys. Anyways, so this message is for all of you that are dealing with some type of negativity. I hope this message finds it somewhere to be beneficial in some form or fashion for you guys, because this holds true to me. This was actually sent to me by my locked up loved one, Jay Lee, and I want to share it tonight because it's very, very, very powerful information. So all credit for this goes to my locked up loved one, JayLee, the founder, the founder and owner from Inside Out. Man, I can't talk worth shit tonight. All right, my closing arguments for this podcast right here from Inside Out. 8 powerful words that I want to share with all of you that are going through something. Number 1, believe in yourself. I can't stress that enough. That's number 1. Believe in yourself. Believe you can. Don't say you can't. Stop saying you can't. You can't. Period. Okay? And you will, you will win. Okay? Number 2, stay strong. Dream, believe, achieve. Pretty self-explanatory, ladies and gentlemen. Stay strong, dream, believe, and achieve. Number 3, never give up. I love that one too. Never give up. Don't quit. Okay? Never give up. A little progress each day adds up. Kind of like saving a penny. Saving a penny adds up. Same thing. All right? Number 4, be grateful. A grateful heart is a magnet for miracles. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. Number 5, ladies and gentlemen, work hard. Good things come to those who hustle. Another one. Good things come for those who wait. Number 6, stay humble. Work hard in silence. Let success make the noise. Absolutely. Number 7, be kind. Kindness makes you the most beautiful. Let your light shine. All right? Number 8, keep smiling. Your smile makes others do the same. Very contagious. Start smiling and continue to do so. Those are my closing arguments right here in our studios from Inside Out. Jay Lee?
Well, yeah, great inspirational information there. Those 8 different sentences and sub-sentences were a creation of my thoughts on topics related to people who are struggling. We have a lot of people struggling today, but along the same vein, my closing arguments deal with that struggle dealing with the death penalty, and simply put, with all the problems we've had associated with it, it doesn't take any rocket science to themselves. Common sense prevails here. We can no longer trust the death penalty system just because of all of those who were determined to be innocent after they were having their lives taken from them. So because we can no longer trust the death penalty system, and it seems to be run by politics, we should demand that the death penalty system be abolished in every single state. Because no matter what a human being has done to put themselves in prison, at the end of the day, they're still a human being. And that's my closing statement.
Wow, very powerful stuff there, Jay Lee. Thank you so much for giving that out and giving that inspiration for somebody that's going through something. Because believe it or not, folks, somebody out there right now watching this, someone that's locked up, somebody that's dealing with their locked up loved one, somebody is going through something. I'm hoping both our messages have been helpful in some way, form, or fashion. Ladies and gentlemen, great things are happening with this podcast. I can't be more ecstatic for every one of you that are following me right now and doing what you can to show your support. So coming up this Friday, as mentioned, we are going to do a live broadcast celebrating our 1,000 subscriber mark. And I want you all to be a part of it. So I hope to see you there. And you too, Jay Lee. Again, Jay Lee, thank you so much for tuning in for this podcast. I do very much appreciate your help, insight, knowledge, and all the other things that go along with it. Jay Lee, I appreciate you. I really do. Love you, honey.
Yeah, honor and respect goes to you, Jay. Good work on the show over the past 5 years. Great monumental occasion that we're going to be doing this Friday. Can't wait to be there. I will join you for sure. and make sure that I can be there to celebrate with our fans. And hopefully we can do a live show on Friday.
Yeah, hopefully with no connection issues or storms or anything else that gets in the way. But I'll keep you and everybody else updated on that, and hopefully it'll be a big turnout. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this podcast. It's been an awesome show. I hope it was educational for you in some form or fashion, and hopefully you will share this and get this information out for somebody else to get educated on. With that said, I'm your host, Jay. I will catch you all on the next podcast. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.